So we've recorded. It's done. It's all on tape or hard disk. It's now time to mix. So we've set up a few things. It has to be said, we don't have a plethora of outboard gear. This is a brand new facility. The desk has been in less than a week. And we have a very short supply of outboard gear. However, ACM here in Clapham have some very useful neighbours in the form of Red Dog Music, who are 2 floors above.
They are indeed.
And they've stepped up to the plate and lent us some gear. We've got a rather lovely warm LA2A type thing. I think it's called a warm 2A, I'm not entirely sure. And we've got a couple of pedals, which you normally wouldn't necessarily be using, but in this instance, it kind of works, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It's kind of working. So, Bryn, take us through the desk layout and what we've got where.
Okay. So, because of the way we've been working with the inline console, the mix was actually quite a long way away because all the faders were set as balanced as we were going along. So we reset the meter, so we were monitoring the metering from tape. And we set up a few auxes. We've had the SPX reverb on aux 1 pretty much all the way along. That was fine. We also have set up on aux 4, we have set up the Strymon pedal. Now, the great thing about the Strymons is that they actually got quite a lot of headroom, so they will take a line level. I've not had to do any adjustment on that to feed it +4, which is very handy.
So that's the brigade type delay type thing.
Yeah.
And it sounds awesome.
Yeah, it does.
We're pretty much, that is our vocal effect.
Yep.
And a tiny bit of reverb just to give it some space.
On the insert points for the solo guitar, we've got the El Deco?
The Deco, yeah,
Deco,
which is a kind of a saturator come...
tape warming kind of wobbly thing.
Kind of almost reminds me of what they called a Soniplex, a Echoplex. Yeah, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's great. You can turn the knob and everything kind of tracks and goes squiffy.
Goes a bit mad.
Yeah. On the bass, we borrowed the LA2. I don't think you can beat an LA2 or one of its variants on bass, and that just instantly kind of put a presence and authority underneath everything. But that's pretty much it in terms of the effects we've used. But there's nothing on Pro Tools being used at all. No insert points, no automation.
No automation, no
Everything
nothing.
you're hearing
is ridden by these here fingers. Clever things we did in Pro Tools was one, quite frankly. Because the bass was being DI'd and the cabinet was being mic'd, I actually went in and manually time-aligned the bass because it was sounding a bit wobbly, I think is a good word.
Wobbly's the word of the day.
Almost distorted, I would say.
Yeah.
I went in and made sure that the first peak, the first up curve, if you like, lined up the DI and the mic'd signal.
Yep.
That improved the bass signal about 1,000%.
Yep.
Then we put it through the warm LA2, so WA2A, as it says on the front, and we couldn't read.
Yeah.
We put it through that, and it sounds absolutely stunning now.
Yep.
A bit of EQ. Yes, we have used Desk EQ. Any fans of the Al Schmidt method will know that I love that too, but we've dived in for some EQ because, quite frankly, the kit sounds fantastic. I think we've so far ditched the room mics because it just wasn't working. Sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not. We've ditched it, I think.
Yeah, there was a bit too much flamming around. It made it untidy. And the only last thing that we did is with our composer that we've been using through, and I think we showed in the intro, is we set all the short faders, we've set them to copy the long fader path. So these are basically taking the post fader sender, and we're kind of using that to send to the 2 buses, 1 and 2. Which is coming up here, so we've got a parallel drum bus.
And on buses 1 and 2, which are also sent to the mix, they're panned hard left and right, and on their insert point we've put the composer. So we've got, and we're slamming it. We're hammering it. But as you can see from the fader, we're only using kind of -20, -18 dBu, dBV, whatever the scale is. I'm not sure. We're tickling it, but it's doing something. It's adding some warmth, some power, I think, to the drums mainly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So we've done all this over here in button mode. Where things get interesting is over here in Patchbay land. So do you want to go and talk the Patchbay out through a little bit? Because I agree, as someone who's used this desk for about 3 days now, it's confusing as heck.
Okay. The thing with the Patchbay on the console is that it doesn't wait. It works in a much more sort of American style way where it actually goes across instead of down. So whereas you have the ins and the outs below, we're going across. So here are individual tapes. So you can see here on 17, we've actually patched, and we've come out to the Strymon, which is our solo guitar, which is the deco unit here, and we've just patched it in an insert point, and that seems to have handled it very, very well.
So if actually, we probably need to zip on somewhere to about, let's find the solo, there it is. So you can hear exactly how much that's doing.
Cool. As I say, the great thing is the Strymon's just coming straight off the Patchbay +4. One of the useful things we have built in here, though, is a couple of attenuators. So if you've got something that won't take anything that hot, you can bring out a -10 dB if you want to lay down to an old domestic cassette.
And that's built in?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Really, really useful to have. We're coming back in some more on the Auxes for the Brigadier, which is coming off of Aux 4.
And that's pretty much on the lead vocal, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, there it is.
And of course, a place where the vocal stops.
Of course, yeah. Let's find
it would be, wouldn't it?
Verse.
Used to share a lover's dictionary.
Without?
We used to spend our evenings conjugating all night long.
It's just adding a little
single repeat ripple behind.
Yeah, it sounds really, really nice.
Yeah, it's subtle, but just adds that little bit of space, so you haven't got to swamp the reverb on it. Speaking of the reverb's in stereo here on 1 and 2, in and out there, and then we've got the composer here coming in and out across the bus outputs, which are up here on the subgroup. So we've got an insert on the subgroups, sending out to the left, sending out to the right, and the returns on the left and right. Coming over on 1 and 2 here, as James pointed out, it's actually all pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
It's just nice to have this amount of access on the panel, so you can get in and kind of route anything you want. We could have 3 more sort of stereo parallel buses if we wished, and route them into the mix. One of the things is that we're actually hardly tickling what we can do with the Auxes, because we've got 1 set up for reverb, 4 set up for the echo, but we've actually got the 6 here with a shift key so we can get access to the 12, and then we've got the Q masters as well, and then we're using the short faders, so effects ends is you're swamped.
We've got a lot.
Yes. It seemed a shame not to use as many as possible, which is why we went borrowing.
Yes, scavenging I thought was close. So the patching was confusing for me, which is why, quite frankly, stepped in. Nice t-shirt, by the way.
I'll make sure you get one.
Thank you. The bit that I particularly liked was when we started playing around with the tone controls, the tone shaping, the retro iron, the low hump and the high lift. And quite frankly, we'll play the track back and I'll kick them in one by one so you can hear exactly what happens. Then we just tickled it. Literally just tickled the meter on the VCA bus compressor, and it just lifts it.
Yep.
And then kick that bass expander in. Oh, crisis was had. So let's play it back.
Yep.
The mix is pretty much there. There will be 3 versions for you to listen to, and we'll put these on in a place where you can get them, probably SoundCloud or something like that, so you can hear 3 versions. The first one will be the mix with EQ and effects without the bus compressor or the tone shaping modules in. Number 2 will be everything, all buttons in, every last piece of kit we can get our hands on, the compressor and all the goodies in. So it'll be literally a case of having that. The last one will be just the tracked parts. The vocal, the guitars, the bass, the drums. No EQ, no desk EQ, no reverb, no
inserts,
no nothing.
No Auxes.
Just the stuff that's coming back off Pro Tools. And hopefully that will... I think it actually does sound pretty good. Yeah. It's not as clean. The image is a bit muddy, I think. We've done quite a lot of work on the drums to give them some real power, and obviously that parallel compression bus is really helping.
Yeah.
Even though we're only just tickling it. But it sounds pretty damn awesome. There you go. Have a listen to those. So I have a confession to make, and I haven't told him this yet. I'm probably going to get one of these. It has been an absolute joy this last sort of 3 days of actually getting back to recording properly, and a hybrid workflow, a genuine hybrid workflow between Pro Tools and between the desk and all the stuff. The reason I got into recording, to be able to do stuff with these. It's so...
Using your ears instead of your eyes.
I haven't actually looked at the Pro Tools session once, other than knowing my shortcuts for my markers, things like that. And we did a little bit of editing on the vocal just to tweak
Comping,
it. Yeah, but actually, there's no screen behind the camera. So it's been really nice to get back to actually using my ears. And I think the mix is testament to the fact that it's been a bit of a collaborative mix, as I'm sure you can agree. When putting 4 engineers in a room is always dangerous. But it's been an absolute joy. So, Bryn, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing it. And when are you dropping it off at my place?
You take it now, mate. You're going home on the tube, aren't you?
I'd also like to thank Andy and Harry from Audient, who have been legs in the backs of the occasional shot and running all the cameras and stuff, and quite frankly being fantastic the last 3 days. I'd like to thank the guys here at ACM, the Academy of Contemporary Music in, where are we? Clapham Common. Not very common anymore, but hey. I'd also like to thank the guys at Red Dog Music upstairs for the loan of some toys. It's been fantastic. And I'd like to thank you for watching, for sticking with us. I have no idea at this stage how many parts this video series is going to be. But if you've stuck with us from the beginning, when I first sort of clapped eyes on this thing, to now where I feel I could, well, quite happily take command and take ownership of one of these. So thank you for sticking with us. We'll play the mixes back. We'll have a play now. And hopefully you've enjoyed what you've seen and heard. I've been James from Pro Tools Expert, and we'll see you again soon for much, much more gear talk.